since I'm starting the year off at the top of your Explorer. Are you not entertained?
The internet lit up the second word spread that Jim Jones had issues at his facility after it reportedly lost power, because in hip-hop, even a blackout can turn into headline drama fast. What could have been a regular technical problem suddenly became comedy gold once Mace and Cameron got their hands on it. And when those two start joking, especially with history involved, it's never light.
I feel like with Cam's disses, it's a little bit of love in it. Like he always kind of tells him to grow up.
Murder! How you doing, man?
Jim has built an image around hustle, leadership, and boss energy. So when news of a power outage tied to his facility started circulating, the symbolism practically wrote itself. A boss losing power, the wordplay alone was too tempting. Mace and Cam didn't waste a second. They turned what looked like a random setback into a public roast session that had fans replaying clips nonstop.
Out your mouth when you inside, pause. So I just wanted to make sure the temperature was good, but the temperature is good here. Everything is good, man. So I want to start off today's show with a couple things. Last week I said a couple things that I'm not going to deal with, and I didn't finish my list. And I'm not going to finish it every show. I'm just going to say a few things per episode. But I'm going to start this week off and telling people more things. This week, I'm starting off with this.
The jokes weren't reckless. They were slick, layered, and delivered with that Harlem confidence that made them hit harder. Cam leaned into humor that played on business stability and image. Mace added his own flavor, keeping it playful but sharp. It didn't sound like pure hatred. It sounded like competitive teasing mixed with old tension.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure I was warm enough.
I was wondering why you were so...
Nah. I don't know what games people playing out here, but the heat been going off in a few joints, so I was making sure I was going to be warm enough when I got in here today. That smoke in the background right here, that's not from coldness. That's being on fire.
The streets understand that the relationship between these three has never been simple. There's history, there's pride, there's rivalry. So when an opportunity pops up to poke at someone's public image, especially someone who's been vocal about status and control, it gets magnified. What made this moment go viral wasn't the outage itself, it was the framing. Social media turned a basic power issue into metaphor territory. Memes popped up showing lights out captions with exaggerated commentary. Clips of Mace and Cam laughing about it circulated with dramatic edits.
I'm not his soldier. I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down. And they know what I've done. And they could dance around it all they want and like that, joking, but they know if I get upset, it's gonna be a real problem.
What's happening? Oh, man, this is crazy, man.
Jim didn't immediately fire back, and that silence added fuel. Silence in hip-hop rarely stays neutral. Fans started speculating whether he was brushing it off privately or planning a response. Either way, the jokes were already spreading. This wasn't a diss track. It wasn't a screaming match. It was humiliation through humor. Humor can be more damaging than anger because it sticks.
I watched Mace shit on Cam and everybody around him. A bitch like all the time. You heard? Like I was there the whole time, but I was Cam's man. You heard? Okay.
It's what they want.
Cam and Mace were so-called best friends, grew up together, and R.I.P. Huddy. Like I was there for everything. That's one thing that people can't never say is that I wasn't there for every single thing.
Yeah, listen, man. Listen, I'm gonna address a couple things because we've been on vacation and a lot has been talking since I was off vacation.
The streets love irony. A power loss at a facility connected to someone who markets dominance feels ironic. Irony creates narrative momentum. Jim's brand has always centered around resilience. But resilience doesn't stop memes. Once the internet locks in on a moment, it multiplies it. The roasting felt playful on the surface, but underneath it hinted at deeper competitive tension. And when competition mixes with embarrassment, the spotlight gets even brighter.
Big L had a name for herself. She has some dangerous ass brothers.
Brothers, that what Cam said.
They was uptown really shaking and moving and shit like that. You dig? And that's not my part of town. I was
They were
uptown.
sticko
You dig?
wolves.
Yeah, Cam used to be scared to death of them niggas, to the point he didn't want to come outside. I didn't understand it because I'm from downtown. You heard? We had our own set of killers and shit like that. I didn't understand how that looked.
So.
Cam was a basketball player.
both.
Basketball. You heard?
Right. That was a skit when y'all was playing basketball, nigga threw the ball and shit. Get up.
That was a skit.
I say these. I think that's a skit. Yeah.
Mace
Right.
was talented. He was a dancer. And
You,
Mace didn't excel at the rapping really to after high school. They started getting on and shit like that, and then he excelled and then started getting on first and signed first, and then that helped Cam and everybody get on and shit like that. But as far as making a name for themselves in the street, nobody had no name in the street like that.
As the clip continued spreading, fans began unpacking why this small incident carried so much weight, because in hip-hop, image equals currency. Jim's facility wasn't just a building, it symbolized expansion, growth, independence. So when something goes wrong publicly, especially something visible like a power loss, it chips at that polished narrative. Mace and Cameron understand optics better than most. They didn't need to exaggerate wildly. They simply leaned into the symbolism. Cam's jokes felt calculated, like he knew exactly how the streets would interpret it. Mace kept his tone smooth, almost amused, but sharp enough to sting. The streets noticed the chemistry. When former Dipset affiliates roast each other, it carries extra flavor. There's shared history there, shared success, shared friction. That friction makes every joke feel layered. Fans started comparing this moment to past tension between Jim and Cam. Old disagreements resurfaced in comment sections. People debated whether the roasting was harmless banter or subtle revenge for previous back and forth. The symbolism of losing power became the dominant narrative. Commenters twisted it into metaphors about influence, relevance, and control. Whether fair or not, perception shapes reality online. Jim's supporters argued that technical issues happen to any business. They pointed out that infrastructure problems don't define leadership, but social media doesn't operate on nuance. It operates on punchlines. The punchline was simple. The punchline was viral. What makes this moment spicy is timing. Whenever Jim has been vocal about leadership or influence recently, critics look for moments to counterbalance that narrative. This outage gave critics material. Mace and Cam didn't cross dangerous lines. They kept it in the realm of humor. That restraint prevented the situation from turning ugly. But humor still hits hard when ego is involved. The streets love watching how veterans handle embarrassment. Do they retaliate loudly? Do they stay silent? Do they laugh along? That reaction determines the next chapter. So far, the roasting has stayed verbal, but verbal humiliation spreads faster than diss tracks in the meme era. Memes live longer than songs sometimes, and once memes attach to your brand, they follow you everywhere. As the days passed, the narrative grew beyond just a power outage, because this moment became a symbol of ongoing rivalry energy within Harlem's elite circle. Jim Jones represents grind and expansion. Cameron represents slick humor and unapologetic commentary. Mace brings that calm, seasoned perspective with a sharp edge. When those personalities collide over something symbolic, it creates cultural conversation. The roasting felt less like random mockery and more like a reminder that alliances shift. Dipset history always hovers in the background. The streets can't separate current jokes from past tension. Jim's facility losing power might be a simple infrastructure glitch, but in the culture, symbolism rules. Symbolism doesn't need accuracy, it needs narrative weight. The narrative weight here is about dominance. Who controls the conversation? Who controls perception? At that moment, Cam and Mace controlled it. Fans analyzed tone closely. Was Cam sounding bitter? Was Mace sounding amused? Was there hidden frustration behind the humor? Social media turns speculation into sport. The roasting also reignited debates about leadership within their past circle. Old interviews resurfaced where subtle tension was visible. That history made the jokes feel connected rather than random. Jim's brand is built on resilience. If he responds strategically, the story could flip again. But right now, the optics lean toward comedy dominance. Comedy dominance is powerful because it reshapes image temporarily. Temporary shifts still leave footprints. The streets are watching to see whether Jim fires back directly or lets it fade. Either choice sends a message. Letting it fade signals maturity. Firing back signals pride. Pride is strong in Harlem culture. This chapter feels like part of a longer saga rather than a one-off joke, and longer sagas always draw bigger crowds. When everything is placed in perspective, this situation highlights how quickly public perception can shift from minor setback to full-blown spectacle. Jim Jones didn't lose a career. He didn't lose a movement. He faced a moment, but moments matter deeply in the social media era. Mace and Cam capitalized on timing perfectly. Their roasting wasn't reckless. It was strategic humor wrapped in familiarity. That familiarity makes the jokes hit harder. The streets appreciate witty competition more than chaos. This stayed witty. It stayed layered, but it still landed punches. The bigger takeaway is about optics. When someone known for power faces a literal power outage, the symbolism becomes irresistible. Symbolism drives headlines. Jim's next move will define how long this moment lingers. If he laughs it off, the narrative may cool. If he responds sharply, it could escalate into another public back and forth. For now, the roasting sits in the archives as a reminder that no brand is immune from humor, not even one built on boss energy. Hip-hop thrives on pride and image. Comedy thrives on cracking image gently. When those forces collide, sparks fly. This isn't destruction, it's rivalry wrapped in laughter, but rivalry always carries edge. Edge keeps fans invested. Invested fans keep, stories alive longer than expected. The facility may regain power physically, but the jokes will continue circulating digitally. And in today's culture, digital echoes travel far. If you stayed locked in through this entire breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next story the streets won't stop talking about.